And like that, we find ourselves knocked out in this year's Carabao Cup in pretty disappointing fashion. Now, you can argue that this was the B team's first big test against Premier League opposition. Maybe as a fan base, we've been getting slightly carried away by the performances that we're seeing in the Conference League, because I might sound cynical, but the only two big clubs I see in the Conference League are Real Betis and Fiorentina. Outside of that, we should be trouncing any team in that competition. And the only benefit we've seen in the Conference League is that the B team are getting more used to MARESCA'S ideas. So it's a shame that on their first big showing tonight against Newcastle, we weren't able to get the win. And we weren't even able to score a goal. I'm looking at the finishing tonight of players like Nkunku, players like Joao Felix. We created some great opportunities in this game today. I'll discuss them later on, but very quickly I have to interrupt by announcing that Football Prizes have an amazing prize in show, as this time you can win a sign and frame Cole Palmer shirt, plus there's instant win prizes to win Poyet and Frank Lampard's shirts. So if you guys want to participate, use my link above and description below. Good luck. But I think ultimately it was that poor start to the game. It was that poor first half, and it just felt like Newcastle, they knew the game plan. They knew how to stop us. They provided so much pressure by pressing us, and they forced so many mistakes in our own half. And that was really disappointing, because in the space of 3 minutes, we essentially lost this game in the first half, with goals coming courtesy of Isak. First Isak goal was really annoying, to be fair with you, because we basically created this mess by ourselves. To be honest, I felt the mistake originally came from Badiashile. It was the wrong pass entirely to even decide to play that to Vega, who was about to get pressed from behind. So I don't know why he forced the pressure for Vega. And to be fair, maybe it wasn't a surprise that Badiashile made a mistake like that, because I think there was even a pass he made to Jorgensen, which he put too much power into and forced a reaction from Jorgensen then. But it was quite poor, and naturally with someone like Isak, who loves scoring against us, he's not going to waste an opportunity like that. And I think after going down in that type of fashion, there was a lack of confidence afterwards. And you could see that immediately for the second goal we conceded, where we went to sleep from the set piece. And so far, we aren't seeing maybe some great signs of success with our new set piece specialist that we have in Cueva, who was supposed to maybe bring and introduce more improvements in the team. It's interesting because Pochettino said in this press conference at the time that he felt like to get better at set pieces, it ultimately comes down to player quality. You need to have players who can deliver the ball. And number two, you need players who can attack the ball with their heads. And maybe we just don't seem to have that balance in the squad perfectly. Or maybe the reality simply is we have to be more patient and wait to see the signs of growth and improvement. But then you think to yourself, how long does it take to improve from set pieces? I'm not too sure. It's annoying, to be fair with you. I was really hoping to try and win the Carabao Cup. We've been so close to getting our hands on this trophy. We've got to so many finals and semis to get nothing from this. And to go out in this fashion, you know, can we blame Maresca for the lineup? Now, I think it would be very harsh to do something like that. But I think to myself, if we had a striker up front, and if we had another midfield player, maybe could we have mitigated some of the issues that we saw in that first half? I know I'm talking in hindsight, but I still think it's worth having a discussion, or it's something for all of us or you guys listening to think about, because I don't know, I just felt like one of the reasons as to why we were kind of forcing so much pressure on ourselves was that we didn't have a natural midfield. We saw the continuation of inverted fullbacks, and essentially Cucurella and Renato Vega, they had more license to get forward compared to Enzo Fernandez, who was required to stay deeper to receive from the defense. And listen, tactically, I understand the benefits of having these inverted fullbacks. We've won a lot of games, got great results from that. But then you think to yourself, maybe in the future, because Maresca's still understanding his squads and the team, could Maresca maybe be open to making tweaks and maybe making us more of a classic 4-3-3 at times, where we have like a classic midfield pairing and classic fullback pairings. I'm curious to see if Maresca ever turns to something like that, because we have a lot of like territory and possession, and it's a bit easier for us to play out from the back. But the only thing can be sometimes when you're watching us try to break teams down and you're seeing like Cucurella in the left half space, and you're seeing Renato Vega in the right half space. You think to yourself, if we had a better caliber of player in those positions, be that offensive eights or Kasade or other players like this, or even Dewsbury Hall, who ended up playing on the right wing today and was a bit of like a negative presence for the team, which isn't even his fault because he's not a winger like that. It just felt like maybe there was a bit too much negativity that we had due to how we set the team up. And if we took a more classical approach of using players in their best position, could we have seen like 5 to 10% performance related increases? Who knows? Potentially. And I'm going to think this because as the game ended and subs were made with like Madueke coming on and more players were in their correct positions, we created some great moments and it was a real shame that we couldn't score. I'll touch upon that soon. But I still think maybe it's something for Maresca to think about because, I don't know, if Madueke started this game on the right today, if maybe we had Nkunku or one of Felix receiving in the half space, if we didn't use maybe Cucurella and Vega in midfield ahead of Enzo Fernandez, and there was like another midfield player like Casado who has the license to play more box to box, give us an aerial presence attacking the box as well. Because with these inverted fullbacks, another small issue we see is that they find themselves in great scoring positions and they can't do anything from that. They're literally in the team to support the attack ahead of them, and we're relying upon these guys to do the job right. So how do you guys feel about that? Let me know in the comments because I'm really curious to read your opinions and it's something to think about in my opinion. But outside of that, listen, it wasn't a game full of terrible performances. I think one of the positives tonight, I would say, is Mykhailo Mudryk. I just kind of feel like ever so slowly, I'm getting this assurance behind his game. Now listen, anything that happens to Mudryk in our own half, he has a lot of work to do. He gets pressed in too easily. He's constantly unsure of himself and he can be like a bit of a pressing magnet for the opposition. But when he's receiving as that outlet out wide in the left-hand side, I feel like he's starting to make things happen. He's not afraid to take his man right to the byline. He'll cut inside, he can link up. And I have to say today, he put in a lot of inviting left-footed crosses. A lot of inviting left-footed crosses to the point where he deserved an assist tonight because he set up countless teammates. I'm looking at your Cuckoos. I'm looking at Nkunku today. I don't know what it was. Was the ball coming to his foot in the wrong angles? Is that why he couldn't get the shots off? He attempted nothing with his left foot. I'm not too sure about that, to be fair with you. But I am sure that Mudryk made things happen for us in the final third. And I'd probably say he was our most effective, dangerous player in that game who caused Newcastle a lot of issues with his running in behind, his link up with his teammates, and the creativity with his crossing. And I'm feeling like Maresca is doing some good work with Mudryk behind the scenes right now. And long may that continue, because if Mudryk can further improve, impact games as a sub in the Premier League, who knows what could happen to him once it's January and we have the start of the second half of the season. But outside of that, though, I have to say there were disappointments, and I would say Felix and Nkunku today, they just weren't giving it today, man. In particular, Joe Felix. I think he had like 5-6 shots in the game, and listen, he tested the keeper a few times, but when he had moments to score, like that moment right near the end when Newcastle, we thought they made it 3-0. Longstaff was called offsides. We literally have a counter straight after, and then Felix does this little dink that has no conviction, and it goes away from goal. And this was a 1v1 moment, and I'm thinking to myself, for someone of your supposed quality, these are the moments you have to take advantage of. If that was Palmer, Mudweke, or Nico, or someone, they're scoring that. And that's why, essentially, these lot are in the team ahead of these lot today. I think they've shown us the reason as to why. But I don't know. I made this point before about Felix. I don't think it was responded to too well. I'm going to repeat it again. I do feel like at times, because Felix is one of those players that can kind of execute nearly everything technically as a football player, I think the issue he finds for himself is that he always attempts to do the hardest action that might just give him that like psychological boost that might get him off on the field. But I think it makes him less effective at times. One of the things I criticize him for is his shooting technique. Because for someone like him, this guy has the ability to ping it top bins by opening his body up. He has the possibilities to demonstrate a wide variety of shooting techniques, but he constantly goes for this dipping power effort, which, listen, when it goes in, it's great, but it's so technically hard to execute that it's like, why are you only going for this shot selection every time you have an opportunity on goal? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I want to see more from him. It's like he needs to get off doing the hard actions, executing the hard actions, where sometimes it's about simplicity. I mean, look at Cole Palmer. It's about executing simple actions to a high level. Look at Cole Palmer when he's shooting at the near post. I mean, it's just a perfect strike. You know, it doesn't look like the craziest thing you've ever seen, but it doesn't have to be because it's technically executed to a perfect degree. And that's what I think Felix is implementing his game now. Listen, he's exciting. Some great turns and flicks. There was a moment in the first half too where, you know, he received the ball between the lines quite well at times in this game, goes on a driving run, gets past 2 or 3. He then performs a beautiful disguised shot to be able to get himself ready to take the shot. And you think to yourself, Felix, this is the moment now. Hit that top bins, get us back in the game. But it goes over the bar. And ultimately, it might seem like I'm being harsh, but that's the difference. Because if that's a Cole Palmer, you know, 8, 9 times out of 10, that's on target. And he's affecting the game. So, listen, these B team guys, they'll have less minutes now because they won't be able to continue in the Carabao Cup. They must also step up and show a bit more because some of them, I can't say they left this game with their heads held high at times. And there were moments to get us back in this game, and they didn't take the advantage. I guess to end things, you know, we can't be a team that becomes too predictable to the opposition. The fact that Newcastle felt very confident in the first half, which was enough for them to win the game, does kind of sum it all up, in my opinion. And maybe, as Maresca understands this team even more, the idea could make sense for us to use more of a classical approach to games. If we had 3 in midfield ready to compete against Newcastle's mid, could we have maybe won different advantages in this game? Potentially. Makes you think that the decision, I guess, to maybe allow like a Leslie Gochukwu or Santos, actually Santos needs a game time, but Leslie, you know, he could have been a great player to turn towards in games like this. Hopefully, you know, we're not going to pay the price of the squad management because we are still seeing positive things. You know, a disappointing result like today shouldn't affect everything. But if anything, it's a reminder that these B team guys now, they need to step up. I'm looking at Felix, I'm looking at Nkunku, I'm looking at Baddy and Shill, where I feel for this kid because ideally he has to be playing week in, week out for a smaller club. So when he's like 24, 25, he's ready. And I think, listen, he's got promise, this kid, but the rusty mistakes that he's too prone to making, he's a level behind Corwell and Fofana and others right now in this team. So that's it, my friends. Share your thoughts and opinions. And on that note, I'll catch you all tomorrow. Cool.